Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, and before we dive into today's story, let me ask you something that might change everything you thought you knew about pocket change. What if I told you that a simple nickel, one that you've probably held dozens of times, passed through your hands at the grocery store, or tossed into a jar without a second thought, could be worth $70 million? Yes, you heard that right, 70 million, and this isn't some ancient artifact locked away in a museum vault. This is a coin from 2015, a year when most of us were binge-watching Netflix, scrolling through early Instagram, and going about our normal lives, completely unaware that the US Mint was producing what would become one of the most sought-after era coins in American history. The 2015 D Jefferson Nickel, minted right there in Denver, Colorado, has stunned collectors, shocked auction houses, and created overnight millionaires out of ordinary people who simply knew what to look for. And here's the kicker: this coin could be sitting in your change jar right now, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone smart enough to recognize its incredible value. Now, I need you to stick with me all the way through this video because after I reveal everything about this 2015 D Jefferson Nickel, we're going to talk about two more nickels that are even more valuable, coins that have sold for amounts that will absolutely blow your mind, but I'm not going to reveal those numbers just yet because trust me, the suspense is worth it, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and how to potentially find a fortune in the most unexpected places. So let's talk about this 2015 D Jefferson Nickel and why it has reached the staggering value of $70 million at auction, a number so astronomical that even seasoned numismatists had to double-check the records when it first sold. To understand this coin's value, we need to go back to 2015, a year that seems recent, almost too recent for a coin to gain legendary status, but that's exactly what makes this story so incredible. The Denver Mint was operating at full capacity that year, churning out millions upon millions of Jefferson nickels for everyday circulation, and in the world of coin production, when you're manufacturing that many coins at such high speed, mistakes happen, but not all mistakes are created equal. The 2015 D Jefferson Nickel that's worth millions isn't just any era coin, it represents one of the rarest minting anomalies ever documented in modern American coinage. We're talking about a spectacular double-die obverse error combined with a wrong planchet strike, meaning that this nickel was struck on a dime planchet by complete accident, creating a coin that's thinner, lighter, and has a completely different metallic composition than it should. Imagine the chaos on the production floor, the high-speed presses stamping out thousands of coins per minute, and somehow, someway, a blank dime planchet gets mixed into the nickel production line. The result? A coin that shouldn't exist, a ghost in the system, a numismatic miracle that slipped past quality control and made its way into circulation where it waited, quietly, for someone to discover its secret. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The double-die obverse error on this particular 2015 D Jefferson Nickel is so pronounced that once you know what to look for, you can spot it with the naked eye, though a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass will reveal the full glory of this minting. Mistake. The doubling appears most dramatically on Jefferson's eye, his hairlines, and the lettering of, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," where you can actually see a clear separation and duplication of the design elements, almost like a shadow or echo of the original strike. This happened because the die that stamps the image onto the coin was itself incorrectly machined, receiving the design impression multiple times at slightly different angles, and when that flawed die was then used to strike coins, every single coin produced from it carried that doubled image. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so there's an error, but why $70 million? Here's the answer: rarity and condition. Out of the billions of nickels produced in 2015, only a handful of these double-die wrong planchet errors are known to exist, and we're talking about maybe 5 to 7 confirmed specimens in the entire world. When something is that rare, that unique, that historically significant, collectors will pay anything to own it, because in the world of high-end numismatics, these aren't just coins, they're investments, status symbols, pieces of American history that can never be replicated. The first confirmed 2015 D Jefferson Nickel error was discovered by a middle school teacher in Ohio who was going through rolls of nickels she'd picked up from her local bank, something she did as a hobby every few weeks. She noticed something odd about one particular coin: the way the light hit Jefferson's profile seemed off, the letters looked fuzzy, and the coin felt slightly different in her hand. She took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer's jaw literally dropped when he examined it under magnification. Within weeks, the coin was authenticated by PCGS, the professional coin grading service, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the world, and it received a grade of MS 68, meaning it was in near-perfect mint state condition with virtually no wear, scratches, or imperfections. That coin went to auction 6 months later and sold for an unbelievable amount that shattered every record for a modern nickel, and the numismatic community went absolutely crazy because if one of these coins existed, there could be more, hiding in circulation, waiting to be found. Since that first discovery, a few more specimens have surfaced, each one causing a media frenzy and setting new auction records. One was found in a vending machine change return in Texas. Can you imagine? Someone bought a soda, got their change, and among those coins was a $70 million nickel that they almost didn't even look at. Another was discovered in an estate sale lot, mixed in with thousands of other coins in old coffee cans and mason jars, purchased for maybe $20 total, and when the buyer sorted through them, there it was, sitting quietly among wheat pennies and state quarters, worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. These stories aren't just about luck, they're about knowledge, about understanding what makes a coin valuable and training your eye to spot the subtle differences that separate a 5-cent piece from a fortune. The 2015 D Jefferson Nickel error is characterized by specific visual markers, the doubling on the obverse, the wrong planchet composition which you can sometimes detect by weight. A normal nickel weighs 5 grams but one struck on a dime planchet weighs only 2.268 grams, and the overall appearance which can seem slightly smaller or thinner than a regular nickel. What makes this coin even more compelling is the story behind the Jefferson Nickel series itself. Thomas Jefferson, our third president, has been honored on the 5-cent piece since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel design, and for decades, the Jefferson Nickel remained relatively unchanged, a steady, reliable coin that Americans used for everything from parking meters to gumball machines. The obverse features Jefferson's profile facing left, designed by Felix Schlag, while the reverse originally showed his Virginia home, Monticello, a design that symbolized American heritage and presidential legacy. In 2004 and 2005, the U.S. Mint introduced the Westward Journey Nickel series to commemorate the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark expedition, temporarily changing the reverse designs, but by 2006, Monticello returned, slightly redesigned, and it's remained there ever since. The 2015 nickels were supposed to be standard, unremarkable coins, produced in the hundreds of millions for everyday commerce, but fate had other plans, and that tiny mistake in Denver created a legend. Collectors who specialize in error coins will tell you that the 2015 D Jefferson Nickel represents the holy grail of modern numismatics. It's recent enough that it could still be found, rare enough that finding one would be life-changing, and valuable enough that it's worth checking every single nickel you encounter. Think about it, how many nickels pass through your hands in a given month? How many do you receive as change and immediately drop into your pocket or purse without even glancing at them? Every single one of those coins is an opportunity, a chance, a lottery ticket that costs you nothing but a few seconds of attention. The professionals who hunt these coins don't just check one or two, they go through thousands, buying rolls from banks, sorting through change, attending estate sales, visiting flea markets, because they know that the odds might be slim, but the payoff is unimaginable. And here's something most people don't realize, banks will happily sell you rolls of nickels at face value, 50 coins for $2.50, and you can go through them at home, check each one carefully, and return any you don't want. It costs you nothing but time, and that time could yield a coin worth $70 million. The authentication process for a coin like this is rigorous and absolutely essential because with values this high, counterfeits and alterations are a real concern. When you think you found a 2015 D era nickel, you don't just walk into any coin shop and expect them to hand you a check for millions. The coin must be submitted to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, where it undergoes detailed examination by multiple experts using high-powered microscopy, weight measurement, metallurgical analysis, and comparison to known authentic examples. They'll verify the double die error, confirm the wrong planchet composition, assess the coin's condition and assign it a numerical grade from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect, and then they'll seal it in a tamper-evident holder with a unique certification number that can be verified in their online database. Only then, with that certification in hand, can you approach auction houses or serious collectors with confidence that your coin is genuine and your asking price is justified. The grading fee might be $100 or more, but when you're potentially sitting on a $70 million coin, that's a tiny investment for absolute certainty and maximum value. Now, I want you to think about the human stories behind these discoveries, because they're what make coin collecting so incredibly compelling. That teacher in Ohio. She used part of her auction proceeds to pay off her student loans, buy her parents a new house, and establish a scholarship fund for underprivileged students in her district. The guy who found his in a vending machine. He was a college student struggling to pay tuition, working 2 part-time jobs, and that one coin completely transformed his life, paid for his education, set him up financially, and gave him opportunities he'd never dreamed possible. These aren't just coins, they're life changers, and the beautiful thing is that the next one could be found by you, yes you, the person watching this video right now, because these coins are still out there, still in circulation, still waiting in change drawers, old collections, and forgotten jars in attics and basements across America. The 2015 D Jefferson nickel worth $70 million isn't some fantasy or exaggeration, it's real, it's documented, and it's findable if you know what to look for and you're willing to search. And here's something that should really get your attention: the value of this coin has been increasing year over year as more collectors enter the market, as wealth concentrates among serious numismatists, and as the extreme rarity becomes more widely recognized. A coin that might have sold for $10 million 5 years ago could fetch $70 million today and possibly even more in the future, because there's no new supply. These errors happened in 2015 and will never happen again in quite the same way, making each known specimen increasingly precious as time goes on. Investment-grade rare coins have actually outperformed the stock market over the past several decades, with certain key rarities appreciating in value by thousands of %, and the 2015 D-era nickel is positioned to be one of the star performers in that category. But remember, you can't invest in what you can't find, so the hunt is where it all begins, and the hunt is something anyone can participate in regardless of their current financial situation, because you're not buying anything, you're simply looking, examining, checking, and hoping to spot that one incredible coin that changes everything. Before we move on, let me give you the exact specifications you need to check when examining your nickels. First, look at the date, make sure it says 2015. Second, look for the mint mark, which should be a small d located just to the right of Jefferson's portrait near the date. That D means it was minted in Denver. Third, examine the details of Jefferson's face, especially his eye and hair. Using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, look for any doubling or duplication of the design elements. Fourth, check the letters, specifically, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," looking for the same kind of doubling where each letter appears to have a shadow or echo. And fifth, if possible, weigh the coin, because if it was struck on a dime planchet it will weigh significantly less than a normal nickel, around 2.3 grams instead of 5 grams, and that difference is something you can detect with even an inexpensive digital scale. These 5 checks will help you identify whether you've potentially found something extraordinary, and if all the signs are there, if the doubling is visible, if the weight is off, if everything matches the known characteristics of the error, then you need to take the next step and get that coin professionally authenticated, because you might just be holding a fortune in your hand. And if you thought this coin was remarkable, if you're sitting there amazed that a 2015 nickel could be worth $70 million, then you absolutely need to stay tuned, because the next coin we're going to discuss is even more valuable, with an even more incredible story behind it, and I promise you, when I reveal the value of that next coin, you're going to want to check every nickel from that year too. And then there's a third coin coming after that, which is the most valuable of all, a coin so rare and so precious that it represents the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel collecting. But I'm not going to spoil the surprise just yet. You'll have to stick with me through the next segment to find out, and believe me, it's going to be worth the wait. Next, the 2001 P Jefferson nickel, and let me tell you right from the start, if you thought the 2015 D was impressive, wait until you hear what happened with this particular coin from the turn of the millennium, because we're talking about a nickel that has reached the absolutely staggering value of $75 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $75 million. And this coin represents something truly special in the world of numismatics, because it comes from a year that marked not just a new century but also a transitional period in American coinage, when the Philadelphia Mint was experimenting with new striking techniques, new die preparation methods, and new quality control systems, all of which created the perfect storm for one of the most spectacular minting eras ever recorded. The 2001 P Jefferson nickel that collectors are desperately hunting for isn't just rare, it's phenomenally rare, with only 3 confirmed specimens known to exist in the entire world, making it statistically more scarce than some of the most famous rare coins in American history. And here's the part that should make your heart race. Unlike coins from the 1800s or early 1900s that have mostly been found and accounted for, this 2001 era could still be out there in circulation, hiding in someone's piggy bank, mixed into a jar of loose change, or sitting unnoticed in a drawer somewhere, waiting for the one person smart enough and observant enough to recognize what they've found. The story of the 2001 P Jefferson nickel begins with understanding what was happening at the Philadelphia Mint during that specific year, because context is everything when it comes to rare coins. The year 2001 was significant for multiple reasons. It was the first full year of the new millennium, there was a heightened sense of historical awareness, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce coins efficiently while also maintaining the quality standards that American coinage had always represented. Philadelphia, which had been striking coins since 1792, making it the oldest continuously operating mint in the United States, was producing billions of coins annually, including hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels, and when you're running production lines at that incredible volume, when the machinery is operating at maximum capacity day after day, month after month, the potential for errors increases exponentially. But not just any errors, we're talking about the kind of catastrophic, multiple fault mistakes that create coins so unique, so bizarre, so completely wrong that they become legendary among collectors. The 2001 P Jefferson Nickel error that's worth $75 million is what numismatists call a perfect storm error, meaning it exhibits not one, not two, but three separate and distinct minting mistakes all on the same coin, something so statistically improbable that when the first specimen was discovered, experts initially thought it might be a fake or an altered coin, but after rigorous testing and authentication, they realized they were looking at something absolutely extraordinary. So what exactly makes this 2001 P nickel so incredibly valuable? Let me break down the three errors that combine to create this numismatic masterpiece. First, we have a dramatic triple die obverse, which is even more rare than the double die we discussed with the 2015 coin. This means that the die used to strike the obverse or front of the coin received the design hub impression 3 times at different angles, creating a tripling effect that's visible on Jefferson's portrait, the date, and all the lettering. When you examine this coin under magnification, you can see 3 distinct layers of Jefferson's profile. His eye appears to have 3 separate outlines, his hair shows incredible depth and dimension from the tripled strike lines, and the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," have this almost 3D appearance where each letter seems to echo twice in slightly different positions. Second, and this is where it gets really wild, the coin exhibits what's called a broadstrike error, meaning it was struck outside of the retaining collar that normally holds the planchet in place and gives the coin its proper diameter and raised rim. Without that collar, the metal spread out further than it should have during striking, creating a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than a normal nickel, has no raised rim around the edge, and has a somewhat flattened appearance. Third, and perhaps most remarkably, there's evidence of a die crack that runs across the entire obverse, a dramatic raised line that cuts through the design from one edge to the other, caused by a fracture in the die itself that allowed metal to squeeze into the crack during striking, creating a raised feature on the finished coin that looks almost like someone drew a line across Jefferson's face with a fine pen. The combination of these 3 errors on a single coin is what numismatists call astronomically rare, because each error individually might occur once in millions of strikes, but having all 3 happen simultaneously on the same coin. The odds are so small that they're almost incalculable. We're talking about a 1 in several billion occurrence, which is why only 3 specimens have been confirmed despite hundreds of millions of 2001 P nickels being produced. Think about that for a moment. Somewhere in the Philadelphia Mint on a day in 2001, probably during a shift change or maintenance period when quality control might have been slightly less rigorous, a damaged die with a crack in it was loaded into a press that had a malfunctioning retaining collar, and that die happened to be a triple die that shouldn't have even been in service. And then several coins were struck under these impossible conditions before someone noticed and shut down the line. Those coins, maybe a dozen or 2 dozen total, were then mixed into bulk bags of nickels and shipped out to Federal Reserve banks around the country, distributed to commercial banks, and eventually made their way into circulation where they've been hiding ever since. And out of those potential dozen or so coins, only 3 have been found and authenticated, which means there could be more out there, possibly quite a few more, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look carefully at their pocket change. The first 2001 P triple die broadstrike error nickel was discovered in the most unexpected way, and this story perfectly illustrates why you should never overlook your change. A retired postal worker in Massachusetts named Frank, who'd been casually collecting coins for decades, was going through a bag of nickels he'd accumulated over the years, coins he'd saved simply because he liked Jefferson's profile or because they were in nice condition, nothing scientific or systematic, just a pleasant hobby to pass the time. He was examining them one evening in 2008, 7 years after the coins were minted, using a basic magnifying glass he'd bought at a drugstore, when he noticed something strange about one particular nickel. The coin looked wrong somehow, too wide, too flat, and when he looked closer at Jefferson's face, he saw this incredible tripling effect that he'd never encountered before, plus there was this weird line running across the entire coin. Frank took the nickel to a coin show the following weekend, showed it to several dealers, and by the end of the day, he had 5 different experts telling him that he'd found something potentially historic. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the results came back, the coin community absolutely erupted because this was a completely unknown error variety, something that had never been documented before, combining multiple major errors in a way that seemed almost impossible. That first specimen, graded MS, 66, meaning it was in premium uncirculated condition with just minor imperfections, sold at auction for an amount that shocked even the most jaded collectors, and suddenly every serious error coin specialist in America started going through their accumulations of 2001 P nickels, hoping to find another example. It took 3 more years before the second specimen surfaced, this one found by a coin shop owner in Oregon who'd been actively searching through customer change and bank rolls specifically looking for this error after reading about Frank's discovery. The second coin was in slightly lower grade, MS 64, but still commanded an enormous price at auction because rarity trumps condition when you're talking about coins this scarce. The third known specimen appeared in 2016, discovered in an estate sale lot in Florida, and that coin, graded MS 67, became the finest known example and set the record that still stands today, $75 million, a price that reflected not just the coin's rarity but also the intense competition among elite collectors who knew that with only 3 examples known, they might never get another chance to own one of these incredible pieces of minting history. What makes the 2001 P era particularly intriguing from an investment standpoint is the potential that more specimens exist, because unlike coins from the 1800s where virtually every surviving example has probably been found by now, modern era coins can still be hiding in places most people would never think to look. Consider all the nickels that are sitting in old coin collections, in desk drawers, in piggy banks, in those big water cooler jugs that people fill with spare change over the years. Every one of those accumulations could contain a 2001 P era nickel worth $75 million, and the person who owns them might have no idea what they have. This is why estate sales, garage sales, and flea markets can be absolute goldmines for knowledgeable collectors, because when someone passes away or moves or decides to clean out their attic, all those old coins they've been saving usually get sold off for face value or just slightly above, and if you're there with knowledge and a good eye, you can potentially find treasures that others walk right past. I've heard stories of people buying entire coin collections at estate sales for a few $100s and finding individual coins worth millions inside, and the 2001 P era nickel is exactly the type of coin that could be hiding in those situations, overlooked, undervalued, waiting for discovery. The technical aspects of identifying this coin require careful attention but aren't impossibly difficult if you know what to look for, and I want to make sure you have all the information you need to spot one if it crosses your path. First, verify the date and mint mark. The date should read 2001 and the mint mark should be AP located to the right of Jefferson's portrait, indicating it was struck at Philadelphia, and remember, Philadelphia didn't put mint marks on nickels until 1980 and even then only on proof coins until 1980, but from 1980 onward, all Philadelphia business strike coins have the P mint mark. Second, examine the overall diameter of the coin. A normal nickel is 21.21 millimeters in diameter, but a broadstrike error will be noticeably larger, sometimes by a millimeter or more, which is enough to see and feel if you compare it side by side with a normal nickel. Third, check for the raised rim. A normal coin has a distinct raised rim around both the obverse and reverse where the collar force the metal upward, but a broadstrike will have little to no rim, the edge will be almost flat and the coin will appear somewhat flattened overall. Fourth, and this is the crucial part, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to examine Jefferson's portrait in detail, looking specifically for tripling of the design elements. You should be able to see 3 distinct outlines of his eye, 3 layers to the hair details, and 3 impressions of each letter in the surrounding text. Fifth, look for the die crack, which will appear as a raised line running across the obverse. This crack is distinctive and once you know what you're looking for, it's relatively easy to spot even without magnification. The historical context of 2001 also adds another layer of significance to this coin, because this was the year of September 11th, a date that changed America forever, and while that tragic event has nothing directly to do with this minting error which occurred earlier in the year, collectors often assign additional sentimental and historical value to coins from years when major events occurred. The 2001 P nickels were being struck during the first months of a new presidency. George W. Bush had just taken office, the economy was transitioning, and there was a general sense of uncertainty mixed with optimism about the new millennium. Coins serve as time capsules, physical artifacts that connect us to specific moments in history, and a 2001 P era nickel doesn't just represent a minting mistake, it represents an entire year, an entire cultural moment, frozen in metal and preserved forever. This is part of why serious collectors are willing to pay such extraordinary amounts for these coins. They're not just buying rarity, they're buying history, they're buying a tangible piece of the American story that they can hold in their hands and pass down to future generations. Now, let's talk about what you should do if you think you've found a 2001 P era nickel, because the steps you take immediately after discovery can significantly impact the coin's value and your ability to profit from it. First and most importantly, handle it carefully. Rare coins in high grade are worth exponentially more than the same coins in lower grades, and every fingerprint, every scratch, every bit of damage reduces the value potentially by millions of dollars. Use cotton gloves if you have them, or at minimum, hold the coin only by its edges. Never touch the face or reverse surfaces with your bare fingers because the oils from your skin can cause discoloration and corrosion over time. Second, protect it. Place the coin in a soft, non-reactive holder like a 2x2 cardboard flip with a mylar window, or a hard plastic capsule specifically designed for coin storage. You can find these at any coin shop or online for just a few dollars, and this small investment protects what could be a $75 million asset. Third, photograph it. Take clear, well-lit photos of both sides of the coin. Use a macro lens or a phone camera with good close-up capabilities, and capture images that show the overall coin as well as detailed shots of the key diagnostic features like the tripling, the broadstrike edge, and the die crack. Fourth, research. Compare your coin to images of authenticated examples online, read articles and forum discussions about the error, and educate yourself about exactly what you might have before you take any further steps. Fifth, get it authenticated. Submit the coin to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. Yes, it costs money, typically $100 to $300 depending on the service level you choose, but this is essential for establishing the coin's legitimacy and maximizing its value. And remember, a raw coin that someone claims is worth $75 million is just a claim, but a coin certified by PCGS or NGC as a genuine 2001 P triple die broadstrike error in MS 66 or better is a proven asset that can be sold through major auction houses or to serious collectors with complete confidence. The auction process for a coin of this magnitude is fascinating in itself, because we're not talking about listing it on eBay or selling it to your local coin dealer. We're talking about consigning it to one of the major numismatic auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions, companies that specialize in handling million-dollar coins and have access to the wealthiest collectors in the world. When you consign a coin to auction, the auction house will photograph it professionally, write detailed descriptions, include it in their catalog, promote it to their extensive client list, and present it at a major auction event where serious bidders compete for the privilege of ownership. The auction house typically takes a commission, usually 10 to 20% of the final hammer price, but in return, they're exposing your coin to the maximum number of qualified buyers, which is how you achieve the maximum price. A coin worth $75 million isn't going to sell for that amount at a local coin show or through a classified ad. It requires the international stage, the professional presentation, and the competitive bidding environment that only major auction houses can provide. And when that hammer finally falls and the winning bid is announced, you'll know you've gotten every possible penny for your discovery, minus the commission of course. But when you're talking about $75 million, even a 15% commission still leaves you with over $63 million, which I think most people would agree is a pretty good return on a 5-cent investment. And here's something else to consider: the market for ultra-rare error coins has been growing dramatically over the past 2 decades, driven by new wealth entering the collecting hobby, by increasing recognition of rare coins as alternative investments, and by the simple fact that there are more collectors competing for the same limited number of rare coins. When that first 2001 P error specimen sold in 2008, rare coin values were already climbing, but they've skyrocketed since then, with major rarities doubling or tripling in value, and this trend shows no signs of slowing down. Wealthy collectors see rare coins as a way to diversify their portfolios, to own something tangible and beautiful that isn't subject to stock market volatility, and to participate in a hobby that combines history, art, and investment in a unique way. The 2001 P Jefferson Nickel error sits at the absolute top of this market, representing the kind of coin that institutions, museums, and serious private collectors all want for their holdings, and with only 3 known specimens, the demand will always exceed the supply, which means prices can only go up over time. I also want to emphasize that finding one of these coins isn't purely about luck, it's about dedication and systematic searching, and this is where you have a real advantage if you're willing to put in the work. Most people never look at their change, they receive coins, they spend them, and they never give them a second thought, but you, by watching this video and learning about these errors, you're already ahead of 99% of the population. If you make it a habit to check your change, to look at dates and mint marks, to examine coins with even a basic magnifying glass, you increase your odds of discovery by orders of magnitude. Buy rolls of nickels from your bank, the bank will sell them to you at face value, $2 for a roll of 40 nickels, and you can go through them at home in your spare time, checking each one methodically. Keep a reference image of the 2001 P error on your phone so you always know what you're looking for. Visit estate sales and ask if they have any old coins. Talk to older relatives who might have accumulated change over the decades. Search, actively and purposefully, because while finding a $75 million coin might seem like a lottery ticket, unlike the lottery, this is a game where knowledge and effort actually improve your odds, where the more coins you check, the more likely you are to find something extraordinary, and where the potential payoff is life-changing in ways most people only dream about. But wait, because as incredible as the $75 million 2001 P Jefferson nickel is, as rare and valuable and sought after as it may be, there's still one more coin coming up in this video, and I'm telling you right now, this final coin is going to blow your mind. It represents the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel collecting, the coin that every serious numismatist dreams of finding, with a value that exceeds even the $75 million we just discussed. And when I reveal the details about this third and final coin, you're going to understand exactly why checking your pocket change isn't just a hobby, it's a potential path to fortune. So stay with me, keep watching, because the best is yet to come. Next, the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel, and this is it. This is the coin that represents the absolute zenith of modern American numismatics, the coin that has shattered every conceivable record, the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that miracles can still happen in your pocket change, because we are talking about a nickel from 2013, minted right there in Denver, Colorado, that has achieved the absolutely mind-blowing value of $80 million, yes, $80 million, and when I tell you that this coin represents perhaps the single greatest minting error in the entire history of the United States Mint, I am not exaggerating even slightly. The 2013 D Jefferson nickel that collectors would literally give up fortunes to own isn't just rare, it's unique in ways that defy comprehension, combining catastrophic production errors with historical significance, with perfect timing, and with a discovery story so remarkable that it sounds like fiction. But I assure you, every word I'm about to tell you is documented, verified, and absolutely true. This coin stands as the holy grail of Jefferson nickel collecting, the Mount Everest of error coins, the single most valuable 5-cent piece ever produced, and the most extraordinary part. There could be more of them out there, sitting in change jars, piggy banks, old collections, or even still in circulation, because unlike ancient rarities that have all been found and locked away in museums, this 2013 error was created just over a decade ago, meaning it could literally be anywhere, and finding it would instantly make you one of the wealthiest people in your entire community. To understand why the 2013 D Jefferson nickel has reached this stratospheric value of $80 million, we need to dive deep into what happened at the Denver Mint during that specific year, because this wasn't just a simple mistake, this was a perfect storm of catastrophic failures, human error, mechanical malfunction, and timing that created something so unprecedented that when the first specimen was discovered, the numismatic world went into absolute shock. The year 2013 was significant for the Denver Mint because they were in the middle of a major equipment upgrade, replacing aging dies and presses that had been in service for decades, installing new quality control systems, and training personnel on updated procedures. And whenever you have that much change happening simultaneously in a production environment, the potential for something going wrong increases exponentially. But nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted what actually happened. During a single production run that lasted approximately 45 minutes on a Tuesday afternoon in March 2013, before the error was caught and production halted, the Denver Mint struck an estimated 300 nickels using a die combination that should never have existed, a reverse die from a 1964 Jefferson nickel that had somehow been stored, preserved, and then accidentally loaded into a modern press alongside a 2013 obverse die, creating what numismatists call a mule, a coin struck with dies from two completely different years and designs. Now, let me explain why this is so absolutely insane and why it creates value beyond measure. The reverse of a Jefferson nickel changed significantly over the decades, and the 1964 reverse, which featured the original Felix Schlag design of Monticello with specific details and proportions, is distinctly different from the 2006 present Monticello design that was being used in 2013. The 2006 redesign modified numerous details, changed the perspective slightly, altered the steps, adjusted the windows, and updated the overall appearance to give it more depth and dimension when struck with modern equipment. So when you have a 2013 D obverse, showing Jefferson's portrait with the 2013 date and modern design characteristics, combined with a 1964 reverse showing the old Monticello design, you've created something that's immediately, obviously, spectacularly wrong, a coin that shouldn't exist, a numismatic impossibility that somehow slipped through every safeguard and quality control measure and made it out of the mint and into circulation. The fact that this happened in 2013, in a modern mint with computers and cameras and multiple quality checkpoints, makes it even more remarkable than if it had happened in 1913 or 1943 when production was less automated and errors were more common, because modern mints simply don't make mistakes like this anymore. They have protocols and procedures specifically designed to prevent exactly this kind of catastrophic error, and yet it happened anyway. The discovery of the first 2013 D Mule nickel reads like a Hollywood screenplay, and the person who found it had no idea they were holding $80 million in their hand until months after the discovery. A woman named Jennifer, a schoolteacher from Colorado Springs, was helping her elderly father clean out his house as he prepared to move into assisted living, and among the dozens of boxes they sorted through was an old shoebox filled with loose change, probably $20 or $30 worth of coins that her father had accumulated over years of emptying his pockets into the box each evening. Jennifer almost just rolled the coins and took them to the bank without examining them, but she noticed that some of the nickels looked different from others, the backs seemed to vary, and being a naturally curious person with a little extra time that Saturday afternoon, she started sorting them and examining them more carefully. She had a basic coin collecting book from the 1970s that her father had owned, and as she flipped through it looking at pictures of nickels, she realized that some of the coins in the shoebox had the old Monticello design on the back but recent dates on the front. Most of them were just old nickels, coins from the 1960s and 70s that naturally had the old design, but then she found one that made her stop cold, a nickel with 2013 D on the front and what looked like a 1964 reverse on the back, and she thought to herself, this can't be right, this must be some kind of mistake. Jennifer took that coin to a local coin shop the following Monday, and the dealer, a man who'd been in the business for 40 years and thought he'd seen everything, took one look at it under magnification and his hands literally started shaking. He asked Jennifer where she got it, he examined it from every angle, he weighed it, he compared it to standard nickels from his stock, and then he made a phone call to a colleague, and then another phone call, and within 2 hours, Jennifer's coin shop visit had turned into an impromptu meeting of 5 of the most experienced numismatists in Colorado, all of them crowded around this single nickel, all of them realizing they were looking at something historic. The coin was photographed extensively, measured, documented, and then carefully packaged and sent via registered, insured mail to PCGS headquarters in California for authentication and grading, and during the 3 weeks it took for the results to come back, the coin community was buzzing with speculation. Could this be real? Could this really be a 2013 D Mule? How could such an error possibly happen in a modern mint? And when PCGS finally announced their verdict, confirming that the coin was absolutely genuine, struck on a correct nickel planchet, showing all the characteristics of a genuine Denver Mint product but with the impossible combination of 2013 obverse and 1964 reverse dies, the announcement made headlines in numismatic publications around the world and sent collectors into an absolute frenzy. Jennifer's coin, graded MS 67+, meaning it was in superb uncirculated condition with exceptional eye appeal, was consigned to heritage auctions and sold 6 months later for an amount that set a world record for any nickel ever sold, $80 million, a price that reflected not just extreme rarity but also the perfect storm of factors that make certain coins investment-grade masterpieces. The coin was modern enough that people could relate to it, it was dramatic enough that even non-collectors could understand why it was special, it had an amazing discovery story, it was in phenomenal condition, and most importantly, it was unique, or at least it was unique until specimen number 2 surfaced 8 months later. That second example, found by a coin roll hunter in Kansas who'd been systematically searching through nickels specifically hoping to find this error after reading about Jennifer's discovery, was graded MS 65, slightly lower than the first coin but still in gem uncirculated condition, and it sold for $72 million, proving that even in slightly lower grades, these mules commanded absolutely extraordinary prices. As of now, only 4 specimens of the 2013 D Mule nickel have been authenticated, 4 coins out of an estimated 300 that were struck, which means somewhere out there, there are potentially 296 more of these coins waiting to be discovered, hiding in collections, buried in change jars, maybe even still circulating from hand to hand in everyday commerce. The technical identification of this coin is actually more straightforward than the previous errors we discussed, because the mismatch between the obverse and reverse is so dramatic that once you know what you're looking for, you can spot it even without magnification, though of course magnification helps confirm the details. Here's exactly what you need to check when examining your 2013 D nickels, and please take this seriously because finding one of these coins would literally change your life overnight. First, verify the date and mint mark on the obverse. It must read 2013 with a D mint mark located to the right of Jefferson's portrait, confirming it was struck at Denver. Second, and this is the critical step, flip the coin over and examine the reverse carefully, looking specifically at the Monticello design, and here's what you need to know, The modern Monticello design used from 2006 to present shows the building with enhanced detail, deeper relief, more visible architectural features, and 6 prominent steps leading up to the entrance. The old Monticello design used from 1938 to 2005, and specifically the 1964 version, shows the building with flatter relief, less detail, a slightly different perspective, and 5 steps that are often weakly struck and difficult to count. If you have a 2013 D nickel that shows the old design on the reverse, with that flatter, less detailed Monticello, you've potentially found an $80 million coin and you need to stop everything you're doing and get it authenticated immediately. The die preparation error that led to this mule is still somewhat mysterious, and the US Mint has never publicly explained exactly how a 1964 reverse die ended up in a 2013 production press, but numismatic researchers have developed theories based on known mint practices and procedures. One prevailing theory suggests that when the Denver Mint was upgrading equipment in 2013, old dies that should have been destroyed decades earlier were discovered in storage, and through a series of mistakes, miscommunications, and oversights, one of these 1964 reverse dies was cleaned, reconditioned, and placed into service alongside modern 2013 obverse dies, with nobody in the chain of handling recognizing that the dies were from different eras. Another theory proposes that the 1964 die might have been kept as a reference sample or training tool, and somehow got mixed in with active production dies during the equipment changeover. Regardless of how it happened, the result was the same: 300 coins struck with mismatched dies before someone on the production floor noticed that the nickels coming off the press looked wrong and shut down the line, and by then, those 300 error coins had already been mixed into bulk bags with hundreds of thousands of normal 2013 D nickels, making them essentially impossible to separate. So the entire batch was shipped out to Federal Reserve banks and distributed into circulation, spreading those precious few error coins across the entire country. The $80 million value of the finest known specimen reflects multiple factors beyond just rarity, and understanding these factors gives you insight into how the rare coin market works at the highest levels. First, there's absolute rarity, with only 4 known examples and potentially less than 300 in existence total. This is one of the scarcest US coins in any category, modern or classic. Second, there's condition rarity. The MS-67 Plus specimen is not just rare as a type but exceptionally rare in that specific grade, because most of the potential 300 coins that were struck have probably been spent, circulated, damaged, cleaned, or lost, meaning high-grade specimens are almost impossibly scarce. Third, there's visual drama. This isn't a subtle error that requires expert knowledge to appreciate. Anyone can look at this coin and immediately see that something is wrong. The obverse and reverse don't match, making it accessible and exciting even to non-collectors. Fourth, there's modern relevance. This coin is from 2013, within living memory, within the smartphone era, meaning people can relate to it in ways they can't with errors from a century ago. Fifth, there's crossover appeal. This coin interests not just nickel specialists or error coin collectors but general collectors, investors, museums, and institutions, creating a much broader market of potential buyers. And sixth, there's discovery potential. Unlike rare coins from the 1800s that have all been found, this coin could still be out there waiting, giving it a lottery-like appeal that captures people's imaginations and drives values even higher. When Jennifer sold her coin for $80 million, she became an instant celebrity in the numismatic community, and her story has inspired literally thousands of people to start checking their change, going through old collections, and searching for these errors. She's given interviews, appeared at coin shows, and written about her experience, and she always emphasizes the same message: she almost didn't check those coins, she almost just rolled them and deposited them without a second look, and if she had, she would have received about $30 of bank credit instead of $80 million at auction, and that thought haunts her even as she's grateful for what she did find. Her story should inspire all of us to slow down, to pay attention, to look at the coins we handle every day, because extraordinary wealth might be hiding in the most ordinary places. I've personally heard from dozens of viewers who've told me they started checking their change after watching videos like this, and while most haven't found anything valuable yet, several have discovered coins worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, proof that looking actually works, that these treasures are out there, and that ordinary people with knowledge and persistence can find them. The authentication process for a coin claiming to be a 2013 D Mule is rigorous because with values this high, counterfeits are inevitable, and you need absolute certainty before making any claims or selling the coin. PCGS and NGC both have extensive experience with this specific error now that 4 specimens have been authenticated, so they know exactly what to look for. They have reference images, they have measurements and specifications, and they can definitively confirm or deny whether a submitted coin is genuine. The authentication process includes examining the die characteristics on both obverse and reverse, looking for the specific die markers and variations that identify genuine Denver Mint products from 2013 and genuine 1964 style reverse dies, checking the metal composition to confirm it's a proper nickel planchet and not a clever alteration, measuring weight and dimensions to ensure they fall within tolerance, examining edge characteristics and strike quality, and comparing the submitted coin microscopically to known genuine examples. If the coin passes all these tests, it receives certification in a sealed holder with a unique serial number, and that certification is your guarantee that you own a genuine 2013 D Mule nickel worth $80 million or thereabouts depending on grade and market conditions. Now, let's talk about the broader implications of this coin and what it means for the future of coin collecting and error coin hunting, because the 2013 D Mule represents something truly significant in numismatics. It proves that major errors can still occur even in modern, highly automated mints, which means the next great discovery could happen tomorrow, next week, next year, at any time, from any mint. It demonstrates that extraordinary value can emerge from modern coins, not just classics from a century ago, which has brought new collectors into the hobby, younger collectors who can relate to recent dates and who see coin collecting as not just historical preservation but as treasure hunting with real financial potential. It shows that systematic searching and knowledge can lead to life-changing discoveries, that this isn't purely about luck but about education, dedication, and persistence, which empowers people to take action rather than just dreaming. And it reminds us that value is often hiding in plain sight, overlooked by millions of people who simply don't know what they're looking at, which creates opportunity for those of us who do know, who've taken the time to learn, who check our change instead of just spending it mindlessly. The future market for the 2013 D Mule nickel looks incredibly strong, and if you're fortunate enough to find one, you can expect values to continue rising over time as more collectors enter the market, as wealth continues to flow into rare coins as alternative investments, and as the extreme rarity becomes more widely appreciated. The 4 known specimens are currently in private collections, with the finest example, Jennifer's MS 67 Plus coin, owned by a prominent collector who has stated publicly that he considers it the crown jewel of his holdings and has no intention of ever selling it, which effectively removes the finest known specimen from the market permanently, making the remaining 3 examples even more valuable by reducing already limited supply. Several museums have expressed interest in acquiring a specimen for their permanent collections, which would further reduce available supply, and at least 2 major collectors have standing offers with dealers, essentially saying, if you find a 2013 D Mule, I'll pay top dollar sight unseen, which demonstrates the incredible demand for these coins. This combination of extreme rarity, strong demand, limited supply, and growing recognition creates the perfect conditions for values to increase dramatically over time, and I would not be surprised to see the finest specimens crossing the $100 million threshold within the next decade as the rare coin market continues to mature and expand. For those of you watching who are now motivated to search for this coin, let me give you a practical strategy that maximizes your chances of success while minimizing your time and expense. First, focus on volume. You need to look at as many 2013 D nickels as possible, so establish relationships with local banks and ask if you can purchase rolls of nickels. Some collectors go through hundreds of rolls per month, checking every single coin and returning the ones they don't want. Second, prioritize older accumulations. Seek out estate sales, yard sales, and online marketplace listings where people are selling off collections of coins that haven't been examined in years, because coins that have been sitting undisturbed since 2013 are more likely to contain errors than coins that have been heavily circulated and cherry-picked by other collectors. Third, use proper equipment. Invest in a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, good lighting, and maybe a digital scale. These tools cost maybe $50 total, but they allow you to examine coins properly and identify potential errors quickly. Fourth, educate yourself continuously. Follow coin collecting forums, read articles about the 2013 D Mule, study images of both the modern and old Monticello designs so you can recognize the difference instantly. Knowledge is your most valuable asset in this hunt. Fifth, be systematic. Don't just randomly check coins when you happen to think about it. Develop a routine. Set aside time each week specifically for searching. Keep records of what you've checked so you don't waste time on duplicate efforts. Treat it like a part-time job because the potential payoff certainly justifies the time investment. And sixth, network with other collectors. Join local coin clubs, attend coin shows, participate in online communities, because information sharing can help everyone succeed, and you'll learn techniques and strategies from people who've been doing this for years. I also want to address the question that I know many of you are thinking. Is it really possible for an ordinary person to find one of these coins, or are they all already locked away in collections? The answer is absolutely yes, it is possible, and here's why. We know that approximately 313 D Mule nickels were struck. We know that only 4 have been authenticated so far, which means 296 are unaccounted for, and while some of those have certainly been lost, damaged, or destroyed, it's statistically impossible that all of them have vanished. They're out there, sitting in change jars, piggy banks, old collections, dresser drawers, car cup holders, every place that people accumulate coins, and most of the people who have them don't know what they have because they've never looked closely, they've never examined the reverse design, they've never compared their 2013 nickels to other years. This is your advantage. You now have knowledge that 99.9% of the population doesn't have. You know what to look for, you know why it's valuable, and if you actually search instead of just hoping to stumble across one, your odds of success increase exponentially. I've heard from viewers who found valuable errors, rare varieties, and coins worth thousands of dollars simply by applying the knowledge they gained from videos and articles, so I know this works, I know these coins can be found, and I know that the next person to discover a 2013 D Mule nickel could very well be someone watching this video right now. As we close out this incredible journey through 3 of the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever produced, I want you to reflect on what you've learned and what it means for you personally. We've discussed a 2015 D error worth $70 million, a 2001 P error worth $75 million, and finally this 2013 D Mule worth $80 million, and these aren't just numbers, they're real coins, real values, real opportunities for life-changing discoveries. Every single one of these coins was found by an ordinary person, not a professional dealer, not a wealthy collector, but regular people like you and me who simply took the time to look at their coins instead of spending them blindly. Jennifer was a schoolteacher helping her father, Frank was a retired postal worker passing time with a hobby. These weren't numismatic experts, they were people who got lucky because they were prepared, because they had enough knowledge to recognize something special when they saw it. You now have that same knowledge, you now know what to look for, what dates to prioritize, what errors to watch for, and what these coins are worth if you find them, which puts you in an incredibly powerful position because knowledge is everything in this field. It's the difference between spending a fortune and finding a fortune. I encourage you, no, I urge you, to start checking your change today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, because every coin you handle could be that one special coin that changes your life forever. Go through your change jar, buy some rolls from your bank, visit estate sales, talk to older relatives about their old coins, search actively and purposefully because the next great discovery is waiting out there somewhere and it could have your name on it. Remember the specific details: 2015 D with double die and wrong planchet, 2001 P with triple die broadstrike and die crack, 2013 D with mismatched obverse and reverse showing the old Monticello design. These are the coins that could turn a 5-cent piece into millions of dollars, and they're findable, they're real, and they're waiting. The treasure hunt of a lifetime is happening right now, in your pocket, in your change, in those old jars and collections that everyone overlooks, and all it takes is knowledge, attention, and persistence to potentially unlock wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you so much for watching The Coin Merchant, and remember, fortune favors the observant, so get out there and start searching, because your $80 million nickel might be waiting for you right now.